So good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Women's Only Wednesday on the Donny Chaingang with me, Matt Payne. We're live from the Full Speed Event Studios down in the old beer cellar, and sadly, no beer. I don't know what's going on, and need to get that sorted. It's the one thing we haven't actually got in the cellar. We've got lots of coffee. Big thank you to Ben Jenkins from Grand Tour Coffee, and of course to Annie OT, proper commentators, mixed coffee and hydro tabs. It's an interesting mix when you get it the wrong one and you don't know what you're planning on having. We've got the penultimate WOWDCG, also of course part of the Women in Cycling Festival in Sheffield, International Women's Day yesterday, and really pleased at Full Speed Events to be able to support the events. And one person who has really supported the events is our yellow beacon. Emma has been across. In fact, I think she was actually using it as an excuse to go to the pub. So let's dive in first of all with our yellow beacon and have a word with Emma. Emma, how are you?
Good evening, Matt. I'm good here. Thank you very much.
And you had a sneaky boozy do on Monday night, or was it actually a Q&A all to do with riding your bike?
It was indeed a Q&A in the Women's in Cycling Week that is being run by the University of Sheffield Cycling Club. There were some cycling conversations around the pub table, took me back to my student days.
Can you remember that far back?
Oh, very funny.
What?
Admittedly, I have to admit, I never taught cycling in my student days.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. I think it was running back then, and now on two wheels. Now, we are going to get on to tonight because this is a brand spanking new course we've never used for any of the chain gangs, and it's going to be very entertaining to see how it plays out because we start on the plateau, we have a series of laps, we drop down and we come onto that final climb, and that is going to make it really interesting. We've not got anything that even resembles this on any of the other courses.
No, this is a really interesting route, and I've raced it, but we've never used it on the chain gang, so I think it's going to be really interesting. We've got 5 laps at the fan flats, and then on that final lap, we go for the Libby Hill kicker at the end. It's only a short kicker. It's not like the London courses where it's a 15-20 minute climb at the end. But it's got a sting in its tail, this one, and this is going to be a case of, are we going to let the pack go to the climb at the bottom, or are people going to start attacking, so it's a smaller group? So we'll start out normally at 2 watts per kilo, and we'll gradually wind it up, and once the go goes, or has gone, I think it's going to be quite interesting.
Well, I think your job in choosing when to push the plunger and when to send the go is going to be really interesting, and like with all of our Donny chain gangs, of course, that's all in the hands of you as our yellow beacon. We've got a great red beacon as well because we have the CEO, female CEO of Gritty, in the shape of Caroline Mansfield, who of course is a racer in her own right for the Magspeed team and a regular on the chain gang as well. So going to be interesting to see how Caroline deals with this because it's going to be really fast on the flat and then it's going to break. So I think she could have a good old workout on her hands.
Yeah, I think the best place to be tonight is in the middle of the pack. I think if you get dropped off the back, it's going to be so hard to get back on because those first 5 laps are pretty pancake flat. So the draft is going to be really strong in the group.
Definitely. So we'll see. We'll come to you hopefully partway around the ride. And I can almost guarantee we won't come to you on a climb because right, Eddie, until the very end. So we'll catch up with you later.
Thanks, Matt. Bye.
So great to catch up with Emma. As you can see, the yellow beacon busy typing, multitasking as well, our beacons. The yellow and red beacon have to be able to type, ride, control the group, watch what's going on, watch the YouTube feed as well as watching their own screen. As you can see, we have about 2 minutes to ride start at the moment. So let's show you where we're heading because we discussed Libby Hill a little bit there with Emma. So let's jump across to our Zwift Hacks map. Now, this is a really interesting course. We come in on a little dog leg and then go around the panhandle, around the P-shaped section of course at the top. We do 5 full laps of that. before coming back through and then heading down and away. So a series of circuits on the top, not totally flat, but basically on the plateau. Once we've done that tonight, and it's going to be a drop down off the screen and head down the hill in towards the descent along beside the river and the docks before coming up that final climb up to the finish. So we've got a 0.3k lead in. We do the lead in, we do 5 runs round Fan Flats, then the run to the finish. We finish at Libby Hill QRM at 33.2k. And as always on the Donny Chaingang, we have our warm down, and that is so that people can spin their legs out so we can just check how everybody is as they go over the line. And that's 1.8k. Total elevation up to the top of the climb, well, that is 108 metres. And as we said already, Emma, the boss, our Yellow Beacon, Caroline Mansfield, the CEO, going to be Red Beacon tonight. Let's show you what the course looks like when we unpack that and show you just how hilly that end section is. So we're going to jump across from our Zwift Hacks map. A big thank you to the team there. Move across to the Velo Viewer graphic, and this really does illustrate just what that course is like in 3D. So as you head in, we come in at the top centre of the graphic, and we work our way in towards the P on the left-hand side. So that long straight away, the full U-turn at the left-hand side of the screen, coming in a 90 turn, and then taking the left, and then curving back round and coming back up again. And it's that rise off that kicker, which is going to be really, really interesting to see how the riders deal with that. When they've come round that turn for the final time, they'll come around the U-turn and then start to head down, and you've got this massive descent, this huge downhill that will see our riders dropping down and in towards the section that takes them down in towards the riverside. You can see it just on your screens, and you can just see the drop down very, very fast indeed. All the groups can be together. Along the very bottom, you'll see there's a slight hump at the bottom, and that is critical for our riders to make sure that they are in the right spot, because that little kicker actually has been known to break groups up before on a multitude of rides. So it's not all that easy if you are sat on that little group going in there. You're going to get a whip end if you're on the back of a big group. You're going to be a smaller group, so that means you're going to have to work your way over it. Then we come around the turn, right hand side of the screen, and onto those yellow colours. It actually steepens almost to 10% on the turns, and that is a cobbled climb to finish, finishing at 32.9k. So going to be really interesting to see how this rides out. Now, the riders just up and rolling are starting to make their way away from the start line and head out onto the circuit proper. Not quite just going up onto the graphics, but just about to hit that green section top centre. So if we take a look just over at the side, you can just see the riders at the moment in our helicopter view. Just going to be jumping in. Let's see if we can jump in with our Red Beacon. This is Caroline Mansfield. Caroline in the orange and white there, the CEO of the Gritty Squad. And Caroline is our Red Beacon tonight, charged with just making sure everybody stays together. You can see we've got Katie Measures just joining us, Sonia Inslee in on the gang, a real select group. So if you've not watched before, really simple concept. We roll out under the control of the Yellow Beacon. The Yellow Beacon controls that pace at the front in the group, making sure that the pace accelerates up and ramps up. Then, if anybody has an issue, the Red Beacon will sweep them up and hopefully bring them back to the group if they're capable. If not, well, they're going to have a party at the back on what is known as universally as the Red Bus at the back, and the Red Beacon serving drinks and snacks and everything else. Believe me, it's always the case. Now, we'll see just how the Red Beacon deals with this, because it is a fairly compact group. We've got a very fast set of riders on tonight. Going to be really interesting to see, but lots of tired legs out there as well. So that's going to be really interesting. Once we get to somewhere between a third and 2/3 distance, somewhere in that sector, that middle third, the Yellow Beacon will make a call, and they will decide when to release it. Those 3 words are G-O-G-O-G-O with capital G's. Not going to say it because everybody will just do it. That is under the control of the Yellow Beacon. That's one of the key jobs, is to gauge when to let that go. Russ down in the Bear, Jimmy Allen the Wolf, Emma on here, the boss, and we are waiting for a new nickname for Alison Kinlock, who is standing for Emma. Alison going out mountain biking with the weekend, actually, so we may well have a new nickname for Alison at that point. And she's yet to get a nickname, but all of them picking their spots, choosing when to let it go, choosing when to let the riders go. Now, as you can see, we're just starting to head in towards the P. We're going to come in towards the drop down, and this little section as we come in now, this is where we join that P-shaped circuit, so we do our 5 laps on the way round here, and this is where things get interesting, and it is really, really tricky because we're going to take the right-hand turn. This is normally a left-hand turn, but what you're going to see as the riders come in is that gradient kicks up 3-4%. You can see that at the top right-hand side of the screen. The gradient increases, the riders start to make their way up this slope, and that little kicker out is enough to be a good trigger point. So when we get in here, when we get to the go point, then that is when things are going to get very interesting, because it is one of the few trigger points before we get to that final climb, and nobody will want to drag a climber to that final climb. I certainly wouldn't, because it'll give us good pacing on the hill. The final hill, very interesting, a real mix, because it doesn't just suit one particular type of rider. Now, Amy Gornall with us from the Finish Line race team, a lot of the squad out in Spain, but good to see Amy on the Chaingang once again, along with Sonia and Amy riding away in and along. So let's jump in and get a little bit of a closer look at our riders out on the circuit at the moment, and let's join them live on the Downing Cycling YouTube channel. Looks like Izzy Torrey just jumping in. We do have a late join for people who are coming in to the ride late, which does make your life a little bit easier. So let's jump in with the gang and let's see how our riders are doing live here on the Downing Cycling YouTube channel. So at the moment, Amy just tucked off the back, just dropped a little bit here. Katie Measures tucked in with the group. We're not sure whether Amy's got a drop out or just going to power back on, but Amy Gordon, one of our real fast riders. Now, a real mix of riders in here. We've got some very fast riders in here. We've got people who do multiple chain gangs as well, just to make their life even more difficult. So we're focused on Caroline. We're now in with Katie Measures. Katie, one of our newer riders, running on that Zwift bike at the moment on some nice lightweight wheels that will help when you go onto the climbs. Not so easy when you're on the flats. So Katie tucked nicely in that group and just try to make the most of the draft. We'll jump in. Let's have a little look who should go to next. We'll go to Miss Cookie now. Miss Cookie, Sarah, currently taken the turbo to a wellness and health and well-being spa day, aka skiving with work week, and Sarah getting the turbo in and getting some kilometres in already. So the call coming from the ride leader to move it to 2.4 watts per kilo max, so then that is going to be where we're going to sit. And the communication coming out, the ride leader's instructions always appear in the middle of the screen for everybody. You can't turn those off, so everybody gets them. There's no excuses not to have them. Miss Cookie, always very reliable and stayed in with the gang and doing as she's told, as an avatar, if not in real life. Okay, let's pick on some more of our riders here. Let's jump in with Tracy. As Emma harnesses her inner Yoda. The draft will be strong tonight. It will indeed, because the draft is going to be critical. Get dropped off the back of the group, you're going to be in trouble. You can't afford to let a gap go. One rider who knows exactly how not to let a gap go is Tracy Seeley, known as Terminator 2.0. Her teammate, Maddie Smith, known as Terminator. It is Tracy Seeley, Terminator 2.0, and what a Terminator, very, very quick. Now, interested to see Becky Porter-James is on a turbo that gives you the cobbled field. Now that's going to be really interesting as she goes up the climb, because Becky is on one of the turbos that bounces all the time. When you go over the cobbles, and there's a lot of cobbled roads on this course, it's going to be very interesting indeed. Now you can just see our Yellow Beacon just keeping that pace up high. She will pull the pace up. Now Yellow Beacon, interesting, going to be in the gang and holding that pace. Interesting, got a disc and a deep wheel on there. Just seeing the riders starting to move up and through. Now let's have a little bit of a look. It looks like we've got Emma Dooley in with us now. Emma, another of our regulars on the chain gang. As you can see, already completed the climbing challenge. Dooley in the yellow and black chevrons and riding on that Zwift concept bike. one of our real fast riders, Emma Dooley, and one of the riders who we know is going to be right in at the mix. Now we're just moving up on to the front. We just come around that U-turn. Now, I wonder whether our Beacon will be calling any sprints and regroups tonight, though. I can't imagine she'll do so first time round. So in terms of the map, if you remember the map that we had, this is the long straight leg on the far left-hand side of both graphics. So this is the stretch that brings us back in towards the loop section of the P. This is the upright of the P, and the group moving along quite nicely at the moment. So just in with Emma Dooley. Let's have a jump in with Sonia. Let's have a go for a random one now. Super Sprinter Sonia in the Chaingang. Super Sprinter Sonia, one of our real quick finishes, guaranteed to put sprint in at the end of the Chaingang. Regular rider on all sorts of terrains, and one of the riders on the Donny Chaingang, in fact, going out last year to Mallorca onto a training camp, and good to see Sonia back in. A Bolsover and district rider, a teammate, in fact, of Emma, our ride leader in real life, if not in the virtual world of Zwift, this fantastic platform that we run the Donny Chaingang on, and have been doing so for a couple of years now. So let's head across. Let's see who else shall we be picking on today. Let's have a. It's quite random with this. In with our rider leader. Here we go. So, AEO team rider, running that Aeonian race team squad. Emma, the ride leader. She's our yellow beacon, a podium rider on the National Mountain Bike Series, regular cross rider, regular mountain bike rider, orienteer, a medalist at the JK International Orienteering, and a winner of Mountain Mayhem as well. So a multi-talented, multifaceted rider. Fortunately, I don't think she's listening to this. Oh, no, she is. Oops. Anyway, very talented rider, very, very quick, very good at leading the gang as well. And I know even managed to get back from work early just so that she could get onto the Chaingang today. Now, let's have a little look. Who else is in with the gang? We've got Becky Porter-Jays we've seen. Let's pick on somebody else. See your name gone. Let's work our way a bit further up. Now good to see one of our riders who is an organiser of the Women in Cycling Festival. It is Sarah Briggs, who rides for the RFDA squad. So that's the Racing Female Development Academy. One of our regular riders on the road in real life, an occasional Donny Chaingang rider, and just as importantly, a very talented rider. Somebody who can just turn up, ride the track, ride on the mountain bike, ride on the cross, and put in a storming performance. Also known as the Ginger Ninja, and one of our real quick riders when it comes to the Chaingang. So Sarah Briggs from the RFDA squad, good to have her on here. We've had quite a lot of the teammates in over the year, and always good to see her on here. Now, another of our regulars, Pip Morn, in here. Pip with that distinctive pink cap and the orange Zwift jersey. Plenty of ride-ons going into people's back pockets, and looks like Pip's got an absolute pocket full here at the moment. Absolutely stuffed full of ride-ons. Ride-ons, how people can give support to our riders. So when somebody gives a ride on to the rider, we'll just do it now. You'll just see that start to make its way down, and should land. There we go, above Pip. So a ride-on from Full Speed Events just lands, and then it magically goes into the pocket, and that's an even fuller back pocket. Fortunately, they don't weigh anything, so it doesn't make any difference on the climbs. So at the moment, this group are rolling along nicely. We're just about to drop down the descent. You can see it just coming up in front of the riders at the moment, and it drops down towards that turn where we came into the P, and then it's a kick up. Remember, this is the first of 5 full circuits. Now, riders finishing at 33 now. There is only one more WOWDCG this season left after today, as Emma says. That is going to be our finale. It's on one of my favourite routes for the Chaingang. It is on RGV, a great French route. It'd be great to see a lot of our riders coming back for that. There's going to be party legs on for the 23rd of March. I think we're going to have a few extra giveaways on that as well, to be given out to the riders who are on the ride. Now we head across the base here. It is a slight drag into this corner as it eases off at the moment. We're going to take that left-hand turn. Here we go. And this is on to the climb. Now, this is where if our riders are sitting at 2.5 watts per kilo, you can start to feel the damage being done. Now, another of our Sheffield Uni riders and a guest on the Q&A as well, Izzy Torrey, one of our regulars. So Izzy, one of our regular riders. Great to have Izzy Torrey on here. Izzy, a rider who's ridden for a number of really strong teams, everyone from the Data Paralinks team, and riding really strong. A rider who we know can mix it up on the time trial bike or on the road bike. So it'd be really interesting to see how she gets on this one. Be interesting to see whether all those hills around Sheffield are going to help out as she makes her way up and around the circuit. Now, doing more than her fair share on the front, it is Julie Bratton. Julie, a regular on the WOWDCG and a very handy rider indeed. The pink Tron bike underneath Julie, and Julie in the Belgian jersey there, so Belgian's that rider's jersey, the BZR kit, and definitely a rider to watch out as we go in. Will she be in at the kill? It would depend, I think, on where that kick is and where our beacon lets us go. So coming towards the end of the big loop and back into the upright, the out and back. The kilometres already ticking away. We've got 7.6 on the clock already. Everybody looks to be moving well. They're just going to come across and past our cameras out on the screens and make the way in through the square. So the riders still nicely as a big group just making the way in and through. You can just see them spread across here. Just seeing a few of our riders we haven't yet featured. We'll try and jump in to have a quick check of everybody, see how they're riding. Stats always really handy. We can see currently 116 beats per minute for Julie Bratton as she goes through. Going to jump in with Maz. Now, Maz have from one of the real quick riders, somebody who is absolutely flying on the Chaingang, and going to be interesting to see what Maz's bike is this time around. Now she's gone for the Cervelo. It's a very, very fast bike. I'm going to try and get a view of Maz. It may well be that she's going to just pop out one side of the peloton or the other. So Maz on the light green Cervelo there. Deep wheels as well, full on deep wheels. Now, this means that you're going to be able to hold her more than handily on the flat and on the fast sections. It's a little heavy on the climbs, but the only climb that we've got, you remember, is that real big climb at the end of the circuit. So aerodynamics is everything, pace and speed is everything. What you carry into that final climb is going to be critical. We will have a chat with our beacon when we go in. I'm not sure whether we're going to see Emma call a potential sprint and a regroup on the way through. There's not many opportunities, obviously, with the one gantry on the way through. At the moment, that sprint time is 23:31. Let's see if that's going to happen as they come through. So I love the fact that there's no replies to Emma's question of do we want to sprint. Now, just having a little look, looks like Laura Ganson just having a dropout at the moment. It's at 0.0 at the moment. So Caroline just asking the question. Laura, if you just get a dropout, easy way, if you're watching live, jump back in. So exit the game, jump back in again. So it looks like no sprint. It's going to be as steady as we go at 2.5. Oh, no, so Laura Ganson has got a flat. So, Laura, if you're fast, you have 14 minutes, 30 minutes, 17 seconds to jump off, change the flat, get it back on again, then rejoin the game. It can be done. Neil Mansfield actually has done this in a ride and finished the ride. It can be done. I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but that's not good news for Laura getting a flat at that stage. Now, let's have a little bit of a run through some more of our riders up here. In with Sarah Hawkins. Sarah Louise Hawkins in the gang on for the Strava strip as usual. And interesting to see on that Aero Swift bike, getting that little bit more aero advantage on their deep rims and kit. to come, I'm sure, as Sir Lewis Hawkins come through. And you're just seeing these personal best times on the right-hand side coming through a little bit quicker this time through, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that ramp to steadily pick up, and it absolutely snowing at personal best times on the way through. That time through, it's actually Red Beacon who's got the fastest time. It's advantage sitting around the back and moving through and forwards. So the gang are rolling around very well at the moment, all holding on that 2.5 watts per kilo as they make their way through. Let's see if we can get hold of our yellow beacon. Let's see how Emma is doing. Emma, how are you?
All good here. We've got a super speedy red beacon tonight.
I
love that. That's really funny.
I know, because it's the fastest way to get sprint time is to sit at the back and just put a little bit of a squeeze. So you're at the very back when you hit the green line of the sprint line start, and then squeeze through on the way up as you go underneath the banner. It works brilliantly. And guess what? You can see Caroline Nicholas taking that, and going to be really interesting to see. A big problem, though, for Laura Ganderton, a puncture, and it happens. I mean, people don't, we've seen tyres blow out, we've seen punctures happen to people. If you're not on a direct drive turbo, there's a lot of wear on that back tyre, and it can certainly take its toll.
Yeah, it can. And you're quite right that there is indeed a 30-minute late join on it, but to come back from an in real life puncture on Swift is one thing.
It definitely takes some doing. Neil has done it. We've seen Neil do it, and a couple of riders have done it before, but they've not managed to do it before the end of the late join. So it would be a first if Laura's able to do that. I'll be very, very impressed. I'm sure you will be as well. In the meantime, we're out on the next loop here, and the pace picking up. We saw a whole load of PBs last time through.
We did, didn't we? And I have to say, I think that travelling through the pack in that draft, you're quite right about getting the fastest time by riding through the pack and using that draft to really give you the momentum.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. Now, let's get a quick chat before things get really quick about the hill, because we are going to hit Libby Hill. Now, a lot of us have done this as a general ride where you've got to do hill after hill after hill after hill. However, this is a one only hit. There's nothing afterwards. You can fall off the bike and feel violently ill afterwards. It doesn't matter once you get over the top. Which if you don't, you're not trying hard enough in my school, but I'm old school. Emma's much more modern than me in her thinking, I'm sure. But most importantly, it's not a hill that suits any one particular style of rider, does it?
No, so on the last lap we'll come down here, but instead of taking the corner and turning back, we'll drop down the descent along the bottom, and then we hit Libby Hill. And for anyone who remembers, it's got a bit of a run-in, a cobbled section and some tight bends. And its steepest parts are really kicking around that bend. So it's not an all-out sprint, but it's not a long climb. So it's going to be really interesting who in the pack it suits and how many riders go into the bottom together.
Indeed, and I guess that's going to be dependent on how easy it is to shed riders. Looking at the riders who are in the group at the moment, I mean, there's a lot of very, very talented riders in there. It's a really fast pack and some real class in there. But of course, lots of people have now got training camps, training blocks going in. We're sitting at the start of the road season. We've got some road races and crits already started. Some of the younger riders, some of the older riders already out and racing mountain bikes at the weekend. So a real mix of load on people, and that does vary how people can deal with that final climb, and it is going to be a kick. If you sit there and just turn your legs around, you're not going to be at the front, are you?
No, that's it. So I honestly think I would be surprised if we drop many riders, or if we drop any riders between when we get to the bottom of that climb. And it's a free-for-all really going up. But you are right, there's lots of activity starting now in real life. Mountain bike races, crit races, overseas training camps. So we're really starting to see a pick-up in activity. And Sonia's obviously been hitting the gym. So I don't want to go into a sprint with her this summer.
Definitely not. I mean, she's known as Super Sprinter Sonia anyway. I'm not sure where we go beyond Super Sprinter Sonia. Super Strong Sprinter Sonia might have to be where we're at. Well, we'll see, and we'll see how fast it gets to at the moment. Meant to be running about 2.5 at the moment. And now we have known you take it to 4 watts per kilo before now. Before we go, I think that was an all-time record for any Donny Chaingang. I will watch and see if that happens. So good luck for the rest of the ride. I think we better leave you to it on your way round. Currently 12.5k and 23 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, thanks, Matt.
Cheers, Emma. So great to catch up with Emma. And as you can see, these riders at the moment just making the way. They're about to join the circuit as they come in towards the key section of this turnaround as they make their way in through, and going to be really interesting to see how this group fares. Nobody being detached at the moment. We've lost Laura Ganderton to a puncture. That does happen in real life and as well as on the turbo. It looks to me like this group at the moment all sitting pretty comfortably in there. Nobody going too mad, nobody having too hard a time. I mean, the Terminator's actually got a heartbeat, which is a bonus, so 136. We'll see if that's going to stay down. Katie Measures just tucked in here with Amy Gornell, just surfing the draft at the back of the group, just keeping that pace steady on the way through. Now, one rider who is usually here and is the rider to beat is Millie Skinner, but the Pro Noctis Heidi Kjartsen Rota rider riding on that red chili bike is out on training camp in Calpe in Spain. Some great pictures. Make sure you give the Finish Line Race team, the Pro Noctis team, a follow. Give Millie a follow as well as all the riders. Joe Tinley, of course, National Crit Champion, because you'll see some great images. Been out there putting in some serious mileage out there and some great days out on the bike. Actually, out at the same time, though not in the same place. I don't think is the Spectral Wiggle race team as well. So quite a number of riders out on that as well at the moment. And I think with the lack of Skinner on the Chaingang, it does leave it wide open for a new winner tonight to see who's going to take that on and take the win. I suspect our Red Beacon will be engaged before the end, because if it winds up some more, if we see it going to 3.5 or 4 watts per kilo as we start to go around, I think there's a few people who may be starting to find their limit, but there's plenty of draft to be had. So I think there's a little bit of reserve still to go before it gets too crazy at the moment. We're currently coming up to 14 kilometres. 25 minutes of riding, and our Red Beacon Caroline Mansfield from the Sustainable Sports Apparel firm based just down in Leicestershire, just south of the Donny Chaingang, and keen supporter of the Donny Chaingang Supporters Club, the DCG gang. Currently riding with that fastest time. Now I think we've just seen a little bit of a kick here as these riders go through. I think Sarah Briggs has just gone to ride away up from the back to the front of the group. Let's see if she puts in another fast. She has gone faster this time round. In fact, look at that. Pretty much everybody going faster once again as they go through the sprint. This time of 21.51. Becky J, despite the bumps, second place, 22.01. Miss Cookie, 22.16. And looks like Briggs is just sat on the back now, taking that green jersey beside her avatar. Good riding there by Sarah. So that's jersey moving off the shoulders of Caroline Mansfield and moving on to Sarah Briggs as she goes through. And our riders just going the other side of the monument before they start to go out and then take that right-hand turn around the base of the piece. So this group getting quicker and quicker, whether they like it or not at the moment, as they start to pick the pace up. Our yellow beacon just making sure everybody tucked in. We're going to take that right hand turn. You can just see in the distance there. So around the turn goes Sarah Briggs after having taken that in the blue and black of the RFDA squad, the Sheffield Uni student, part of the organising committee of the Women in Cycling Festival. If you want to know what's on, then give them a follow. It's WIC Festival at WIC Festival on Instagram. There's a great weekend of events planned with Rise. There's a barbecue at Bowl Hills BMX track on Saturday night. I think they're finishing at the Norfolk Arms on Sunday. So a real mix of events, a real mix of rides and gravel road and mountain bike rides all over the course of the weekend. So it's going to be really, really good. Now, okay, wow, 3.5 watts per kilo max. Now, are we going to start to see people struggle here? Because that is some pace here. And who is going to be the first one to go? Do you know what? I want a red beacon. I want something to drink. I want the bus. Give me a seat quick. Let's have a little watch, see how everyone's getting on. We're just sitting here with Caroline Mansfield, our red beacon, who's going to be watching carefully at the moment. We're going to drop down the hill now. It's one thing sitting in the draft doing 3.5 watts per kilo as they come down the downhill section, sucking the draft and not having to push on too hard. It's when it takes the left-hand turn and goes up the drag. If somebody sits on the front of 3.5 watts per kilo up that drag, and then that's when the speed will drop, but the power has to stay there. So this group working well still here, and the numbers are ticking up. You can just see Caroline, who's sitting at the back here, sitting at 2.5 watts per kilo, whilst the riders on the front are pushing 3.5 watts per kilo. That's all to do with being able to stay in the draft. Modulating your power on Swift is a real skill, and getting that pace just right. It's a subject of much discussion on all of the forums, as well as on the Donny Chaingang Facebook page. Make sure you jump on there and give it a follow. Jump and join in, answer the questions so that we know that you're not a robot, and then it will let you in. We'll give you access, and then you'll be able to get hold of the resources on there, because there's a lot of resource, a lot of knowledge between all of the riders, and lots of chat and banter as well, as you would expect from the Chaingang page. Now the rider's just coming down into this left-hand turn, and you can just see Sonia Inslee on the back after hitting the weight session, just dropping off the back and just coming into that turn. We take the left-hand turn now. You're just seeing the draft coming in. Pip Morn at the moment just having to engage the draft as she comes through, so I think we're just starting to see, and it could well be the first of the efforts to squeeze on to the back. Look at that, Caroline Mansfield, brilliant job. Just drops off the pedals a little, just eases back, gives an extra few metres of draft to Pip Morn to get on the back, but I think Pip just dropped to 0.8. I think Pip's legs just gone pop. So I think Caroline Mansfield has now got the first bus ticket punched, and that is going to be just behind the communication. No doubt going to start rolling between the two just to see how they're going. Sonia Inslee took into the group. We'll leave Caroline sorting the back of the group out as we just jump in with this group. We're just diving in here. So Pip Morn at the moment just off the back of that group, and I suspect there's that's going to be a dropout now. Look at the numbers at the moment. There's still sat on 0 for Pip. So we've gone up to 5. So usually indicative of having a technical issue. So weird dynamics going on. It's called aerodynamics there, doing 2 watts per kilo and shot you out the front. And generally means that everybody else has eased off. You never ever know. So just watching the numbers at the moment. A lot of it will depend on what bike you're riding as well. So looking at this at the moment, I think Pip Morn dead in the water, so that I think he's 2 down to mechanicals. So our red beacon just having to do a little bit of a squeeze on. Look at the power of Caroline Mansfield. I think there's been some secret training going on. That trip to Langdegler at the weekend, Caroline, Neil and Lotta from Gritty all going across to Langdegler at the weekend, and clearly worked wonders, because Caroline absolutely powered away with the draft. Pit Morn stuck with no power at the moment, so I hope you're all right now. Just seeing here Izzy Torrey tucked on the back. And you can see Katie Wesh's just keeping it squeezed on as they come up through here. 3 watts per kilo from her, just making sure everybody stays honest at the moment at the front of the group. brass are just dropping back a little bit here in the BZR black kit. Caroline just keeping a check on the back of this group. This is brilliant work by our Red Beakers. All of our Red Beakers volunteers. It is the hardest and probably the most rewarding job of the lot. Our Yellow Beakers do at least a turn or two on register. They know exactly what it's like. Everybody rolling along really well at the moment in this group, and nobody looking to be on the limit at the moment. So just riding in with Gornall tucked in here. Izzy Torrey rolling around the back now. Sarah Grimshaw is cooking. The blue moves up. Gornall looking very smooth as you would expect from a rider on the rate listed DS Pro Nazis squad. So currently sitting at 18.7k. Remember, we're going out to 33k. So currently about 15k still to go. Now, how long will our Yellow Beacon leave it? That's the question. Will she leave it to that final climb to let it go? Will it keep on getting ramped up? So Becky Porter-James, how many laps left? Have you not been counting, Becky? Lots. 15k, 14k now to go. That's all you need to remember. So this, I think, will be lap number 4 of 5, if my maths is right. So we need that, not our regular lap score. I think we need to allocate out a regular lap scorer to one of our riders. Now, I suspect we're not going to see a new fastest time. Briggs have put in a 21.51 more. I don't know. Looks like Torrey putting in the draft. Remember, a lot of riders will be getting rid of anything that's not a feather flag on the way up, just trying to get something more useful for that climb. You can just see Torrey and Sonia Inslee just squeeze it on through there. Oh, look at that. It looks to me like that is going to be Super Sprinter Sonia, Super Strong Sprinter Sonia, who has taken the top spot. She has indeed. So Inslee now, first rider to go inside 20 seconds that time round. Absolutely flying at the moment. So 2 riders down with mechanicals. We are now starting to see people stretch their legs out, and clearly that gym work is working at the moment. So our riders flying along at the moment, taking that right-hand turn, and they're going to take the left. This is just a slight undulations on the way through at the moment. This pace still high. You can just see on the front, these riders are still riding, and they're currently kicking along at what is currently 3 watts per kilo. You can just see, if we take a look over the top here, they're still pretty much across this road. It's not one long thin line. That's a surefire indicator that the pace is really hot and people are starting to struggle as it thins out at the moment. People keeping their powder dry. You see Maz Heffron just goes up towards the front and doesn't push all the way through. Izzy Torrey does a little turn, just jumps off to one side. Brad does the same. Now Briggs comes over the top, just moves to one side. Becky Porter-James took nicely in this group. Our Yellow Beacon coming down the outside here as Gornall squeezes through the centre. It really is a washing machine churn as they come in and through. People just rolling the way through. Sonia, to say she was having an easy night, well, she's just taking the green jersey of our sprint leader at the moment. The fastest time, the first rider, sub 20 seconds on the way through there. Is that an indicator that she's feeling strong and got the power on the climb? Well, we're heading, taking that slight left-hand bend. You can just see in the distance on the horizon, that's where it drops properly down off the end of the world and heads in towards that left-hand turn. Remember, on the last lap, we'll go straight on there. We're going to be heading on. So remember, we finish at 33k. Now, our riders really do need to have worked out how long they can go for. At the moment, though, this group is motoring along, and our red beacon, because the issues behind have been dropouts now. Looks like Pip Morn is up and rolling. She's got 6 minutes, so it could well be that Pip is actually going to see this group come around and sweep her up. Just taking a little bit of a look on the map to see if we can see where Pip is, but at the moment just distance back a little bit, and that's just because of the dropout, I think, on the way through. So the group are really pushing on at the moment. You can just see coming up towards the left-hand turn. This is the climb that takes them back up towards the straight once again. And this is where that pressure will start to come onto the back. And the go-go, what the go-go-go has got, it's gone early. It's gone really, really early. Watch what happens all of a sudden. That big old bunch, it's gone into one long, thin line here. You can just see the gaps have gone. Who can stay with it? Where are they going to be? Or what's going to happen to them? You can just see it's a long thin line. It's not broken anybody just yet. That little kicker up there has opened the gaps up now. This is where things get interesting, because that pace is going to pick up on the front. Look at Sarah Briggs at the moment. She's on 4.4 watts per kilo at the moment. Tucked in here, 4.9, really pushing on through here. And this leading group now just starting to shed ones and twos off the back of the group. And it looks like super sprinter Sonia could be in trouble here. Katie measures. Oh, look at Katie. She's not messing about here tonight. She definitely wants to stay clear of the action. And this is an aggressive right back. She's got on the front. Kicked a little bit, opened the gap as well. She doesn't want to let Sonia get on the back, I think, here. So don't blame her. I wouldn't want to drag a sprinter to the line. Now Briggs goes over the top. Sonia's got to squeeze into that draft at the back. Briggsy goes over the top now. If you're going to try and go away solo, you've still got quite a distance to go. You've got about 10k, 6 miles to go. Now, you've got to be basically a Tour de France winner to be able to kick that out. We're just watching now. Katie's paying the price for that kick on the way, just dropping through the group, and now distanced a little bit. She's got to squeeze in to get back in. I think Sonia Rinsley is going to be heading back towards the red bus, being driven by Caroline Mansfield. Looks like Caroline Mansfield and Miss Cookie are going to be sorting out water refreshments on that bus as they make their way in and through. Now Pip is back up to speed and rolling, and I think Pip could well start to close in on to the group and pick up that red beacon. If we're brutally honest, it could be done yet. Depends on how fast Pip picks up the pace. So it looks like she's got the tech sorted out. Tech is sorted now. Amy Gornall rolls off the left-hand side, just squeezes on those pedals at the moment. Measures just about tucked into the back of this draft, but you can see the damage that's been done by the riders on the front. They're across the road once again, so the pace easing off slightly. And now we're just starting to see a little bit of a squeeze on at the front once again. That's going to be Emma Dooley. Two riders in the yellow and black. Dooley on the pink Tron bike. It's Izzy Torrey riding in that yellow and black on the Zwift bike, on the Canyon Aero Road on the white and pink bike on the sort of standard frame and the aero wheels. But just watching Dooley at the moment tucked in here now. We're going to have an interesting finish. Who's going to take away the win here today? I'm going to see one of those Sheffield students take it away. Organisers of the Women in Cycling Festival in Sheffield. And as they come around this turn, and it's going to be really interesting. Good to see Caroline and Cookie potentially going to be sprinting for the side. Can they get a faster time than is this 1987? Bad year for music, good year for many other things. However, is that the time that's going to be beaten? Are they going to bring it down even more? Now we're just seeing a few people using those arrows in the draft up at the moment. 1987 is the current fastest time. Is anybody going to beat that on the way through? There's some serious pace being put in here, and this could break the group up. We're just watching them come in and through. 18:41, and it's the yellow beacon who has the green jersey at the moment. So Emma taking that jersey. Now Gornall's going over the top. Gornall's gotten very hard over the top there. And she started to open a little bit of a gap here. She eases off those pedals. She didn't take anybody with her, and that's what you want. You don't want to take this to the line on your own. You want to take 2 or 3 people. You wouldn't want to bring a group this size to that finish. At the moment, we're looking at 11 riders still in contention at this stage. We've got about 8K to go at the moment. Sorry, 7K to go at the moment. So 7 kilometres to go at the moment. The riders very, very quick tonight. The clock on 42:39, and just watching these riders now, you can just see at the back 3 riders just attached. That's Sarah Louise Hawkins, looks like Katie Measures and Becky Porter-James. So if these guys will work together and push, they'll get into this group unless you see another attack go. At the moment of those 11, we have 3 off the bat. It leaves 8 riders on the front, and once again it is Amy Gornall, road captain, all too often on the road. She's a regular inspiration to the riders on the team, on that Pro Noctis team. Really experienced rider, and Amy, one of those riders that you know and knows exactly how to ride a race. She's not going to let those 3 come back on again. She doesn't have Emily Skinner, a normal teammate, to worry about. Is it going to be Amy Gornall's day? Is that Yellow Beacon going to pounce? Are we going to see somebody like the Ginger Ninja herself, Sarah Briggs of the RFDA squad, take it out? Will it be the Terminator, Tracy Seeley? We've got Dooley tucked in here, looking really smooth. Maz Heffron in this group as well. So this group at the moment, we have currently on the front Heffron. We've got Seeley the Terminator. We've got the boss, that's Emma. We've got Emma Dooley in there. We've got Sarah Briggs in there. We've got Amy Gornall in there. We've got Julie Bratton in the black of the Belgian squad as well. And of course, we've got Izzy Torrey, who's just working away on the front in that yellow and black. Those are the 8 riders still left in contention at the moment. And you can just see everybody looking at each other just in the bunch, very, very close between these riders. Nobody giving any kind of ground at the moment. We're just still riding in with Gornall. And as they come down this straight, they've got a little bit of a gap back behind. These are the chasers. It is going to be this group of 3. They're group 2 on the road at the moment. So it is Sarah Louise Hawkins riding on the front in the grey, orange and black. Then you've got Katie Measures on the right-hand side in the blue with the orange socks. And then Becky Porter-James with the dark blue jersey and the light blue socks there. These are the 3 riders chasing behind. Then Sonia Inslee has got a little bit of a lonely ride unless she gets caught by the bus at the moment. And then we've got Resurgent Pip Morn behind Pip, having a bit of a lonely ride after that drop out, but right at the front of this group. These are the leading riders. They've taken the left-hand turn, but now they go straight on, and this is where we start to head out. So they know they're on that outward leg now. This is where the message board is silent at the moment, because everybody focused on hitting this. So they come off from the lap. They're going to take the right-hand turn here, and around that turn being led out by Finish Line Race in the Pro Noctis rider. It is Gornall who's leading them out. They have this run across the plateau. They then take the drop down at high speed, and then it's onto that final kicker on the way up. So the message board quiet at the front. At the back of the right, it looks like Caroline Mansford on the snacks and supplies already on that red bus. Not sure the red bus can throw a gel quite far enough up the circuit to get to the riders. Now, are we going to see another little kicker here? I think nobody's going to use up any of their energy here. It's about saving it as you come in and through. Interesting to see Tracy Seeley in that Rafa jersey at the back, just easy enough at the moment, just sits on the back of the group. And it's the riders who we don't talk too much about being on the front, who are saving the energy. If you're on the front, just doing all of the work, you are not going to be working ultimately, because you're going to be putting a lot of energy out. It's going to be great training, but it's not going to leave you as much energy as you might otherwise have now. Sarah Briggs taking the jerseys. We went down Broad Street there. So that gap now at 37 seconds to Sarah Louise Hawkins. Porter Jason measures just beat distance a little bit. Is this not that far behind? So could well be a possibility to come back. We take this left hand turn. We just drop this back into a 3D. Let's see if we can just try and get a little bit of a view. So basically we're on this right hand leg, so we now start to work our way along, then we drop down in towards the river on the right hand side. At the moment though, this group are making the way up over the top of the rise. These are the leaders on the Donny Chaingang live on the Down in Cycling YouTube channel. And at the moment looking really smooth as they go up and over that rise. And you can just see the riders in front of Sarah Louise Hawkins and co working well. They've just opened that gap right up. So Amy Gornall leading the riders in to the descent at the moment. Let's drop some stats in here now. Gornall kicking out 200 watts, drops to the back of the group, shows you just how quick it is. 200 watts gets you to the back of the group, not to the front. Meanwhile, we're seeing some bigger numbers coming up on the front now. Emma's got that disc wheel on, we know she has. This is going to be a massive advantage. Speed 60 kph. Having that disc, it saves you generally 10 watts of power to go at the same speed over a deep wheel. It saves you something about 20 over to 30 watts over a standard spoked wheel in real life. That's just for the disc wheel on the rear alone. A huge saving as these riders are coming down here, and it really does add up. And that's based at 25 kph. At 60 kph, you can actually treble that on the way through. Now, here comes the group. They're onto that lower section. They've done this big descent. They now have this undulating run in before the kicker. So that flat section, of course, and those time is running out now to eliminate the fast climbers, to eliminate the power riders on the way through. Are we going to see a kick as they come through? Is a slight blip in front of the riders as they make their way down the slope, running in with our yellow beacon at the moment. And that little kicker, you can just about make that rise out in front of the riders at the moment. That's a little kick that can just separate riders off if they're on the limit coming in. Let's see who's got any power left in those legs today. Has anybody got the kick? You can tell we're down by the docks at the moment. You can hear the gulls in the background. So here we go, onto that rise. 8% as you hit that little start of the rise. 7% it eases. It's got another kick again now. And this is where anybody who's not feeling strong is going to be in trouble. And it looks like the yellow beacon feeling strong really powers up over the top. It keeps everybody honest because you can just see there's that little gap opening behind Emma at the moment. Is she going to continue to push? But look at that, the rest of the group is closed down. Now we're almost adjacent to the top of the climb. Remember, we are just working our way along the base here. We will be going up towards the monument at the top. We're just going to try and get a little bit of a view of the monument sitting up at the top of that hillside, just above our riders. They've got to go up the cobble climb behind them and up to the top of the hillside. There's the monument just in the distance. It's just about peeking out over the top every now and then. So the riders now on that run along, you see the course coming the opposite direction. They've got to go through underneath the factory, go do the U-turn, and then they'll be heading back onto that climb, heading up towards the monument, up that cobble climb and up to the height. You can just see it in the background there, and it doesn't look huge, but it is more than enough to take the legs apart. And this is going to be a really fast final rip up. I think there's a lot of people now just easing off. Oh look, there's a Seas Russian yacht going in the opposite direction. Excellent. Right, our riders just continue to push in towards that U-turn, and let's see. Oh, we've just seen a little bit of a push here in towards that U-turn. There is a kick around that U-turn, and this could be where we're going to see a race-winning move. Are we going to see our yellow beacon solo in? It is possible to do so. The distance now, a good and determined effort. We'll see our riders go clear. Currently sitting at 1 second. Well, Look at this, the response is coming. Torrey is kicking, but Briggs has put in a 7 watts per kilo at the moment. But the yellow beacon is holding nearer 5, and that has kept that gap. It's still sitting at 1 second. It's 2 seconds to the Terminator. At the moment, they can see that yellow beacon in front. They're going to have to work hard here. Briggs is putting out 5 watts per kilo. Who's got anything left? And look at this, it's Izzy Torrey. The 2 Sheffield students are together at the moment. It's Torrey along with Briggs. So the would-be pilot with, I think it's architectural engineering students, together as they come in now, starting onto the climb. We have 640 metres left as they hit that line. 640 metres, it sounds nothing. You watch this group come apart like a cheap watch on this climb, though, because this is where it really starts to tell. Mas Heffron squeezes up on Amy Gornall's shoulder here. The yellow beacon after that effort sits to the back, but it's Briggs who's leading this out. You can see those twists and turns ahead. But this is about getting around these cobble climbs. The gradient is at 8% at the moment. Don't be fooled. It is horrible. It's steep. It's nasty. And you can just see it rising up. That's the road immediately behind them on the zigzags as they come around. This is going to be tough stuff. It eases now to 2%. Briggs has eased off here. She's at 2.8 behind. They're continuing to push. And it looks like it's Maz who's leading the charge behind. Has anybody got an answer? Tracy Seeley's leaving it late. Now onto the cobbles they go, and this is where it hurts. 12% around that corner. This is tough stuff. This is where that group are going to really be paying for any efforts they've done earlier. If they've gone too hard early on, they're going to know about it. You can see the chase is on behind Maz and Gornall at the moment. It's Mas Heffron and Amy Gordon who are chasing Briggs. Briggs, our leader, is going round the almost final turn. She's continuing to kick. Well, we said she could just come out and ride. She's going to come out and ride, and when she does run that 14% on the inside of the bend and keeps the power down, she'll be able to see that gantry in front. She's got another right-hand turn. Gornall and Torrey are coming now. Torrey is kicking at 4.9. Briggs, so at nearly 6 watts per kilo. She's going to kick over 6 watts per kilo. And it's going to be Sarah Briggs from Sheffield University on the Women in Cycling Week who takes the top spot. So top spot to Briggs. Who's going to take second? Is it going to be Torrey? I think Torrey's going to take this. It's Izzy Torrey who takes second. It's Amy Gordon from the Pro Nutty squad who takes to the yellow beacon. He's taking 4th place. It's Maz who takes 5th place. Tracy Seeley, the Terminator, in 6th. It's 7th place for Dooley, who's going to get 7th as they come through. Oh, so it is Briggs in 1, Goddell and Heffron, followed by Emma Beacon, Tracy, Emma Dooley, Izzy Torrey is going to be Julie Bratton. It's 8th place for Bratton. Amazing finish there. Just having a little bit of a look back so you can just see that all 8 in the leaders are through and onto their roll down. Now the fight behind, we saw Sarah Louise Hawkins really pushing on, but Becky Porter-James onto the cobbles. Will they affect her? Remember, she's riding on a turbo that has a real tough, it's got the kick that bounces her all over the road. She's got that feather flag engaged at the moment as she comes around this turn. But Becky Porter-James has got 13 seconds on Sarah Louise Hawkins behind. I think Becky Porter-James will list the penultimate WOWDCG is going to have this absolutely nailed. Around this turn she goes on to this next steep section. 19% on the apex of that turn. She can see the gantry up in front. She knows where she's got to get to. Behind her, Hawkins now at 19 seconds here. Looks like Mansfield Cookie is the Mornar all together behind. So around that 14% turn, it's going to be Becky Porter-James who's going to come through to take this at the top of the Libby Hill climb, just breaking clear of Hawkins as they came in. So Porter-James comes through, top 10 place, 9th place for her. It's going to be a 10th place for Sarah Louise Hawkins. So Sarah Louise on that Zwift bike comes around that steep section of the turn and in towards the finish. A great finish by her as well, kicking 4.5 watts per kilo as she comes into the climb. And it's not all that far back to our chasers behind. So let's drop back to a super strong sprinter Sonia. So Sonia Inslee with that feather flag engaged already. Risky at this stage because behind her you've got Caroline Mansfield and Miss Cookie both pushing on. So Becky Porter-James, she's going to sleep well tonight. I'm not surprised. Good old kick there to come in through to the finish. Just watching at the moment, Ainsley just coming up to the first of these nasty turns that are on this course. So you've seen it on the inside. It goes up to 20% at times as she comes around that turn. That one kicking to 16. That time it's 19 into the very inside of the next right-hand turn, and all these take the time. It's a bit like doing a hill climb out in the Peak District, to be honest. Every turn, unless you can take it wide, really hurts. This one now a little bit flatter, but the next right-hand one is going to do some damage. She's not careful on a reasonably lightweight frame there at the wheels that look like 854s or 454s, so the lighter version of the deep rims. So in 18% on that turn on the way through. We've got 3 riders on the road once Sonia comes in and through the line. So you can just see the height that Sonia's gained dropping down. You can see the river in the distance as Sonia comes in around this left-hand turn. And behind you can just see just how high this course is. It's just like it is in real life. Russ has races in real life as well as on Zwift, and he says it's absolutely faithful. Now, come on, Sonia, final kick. I know those legs are tired. Sonia's been at the gym like forever. And we'll have knowing Sonia will have absolutely worked stuff into the ground. Kicks in over the line behind. Then it's going to be Miss Cookie, Sarah Grimshaw and Caroline Mansfield. And look at that. Someone's got a feather flag at the right time. Catch it for the kick around that turn there. And looks like Miss Cookie, who took the turbo on a week off with her, a week away from home. Takes the turbo to ride the WOWDCG. That's what we call commitment. She's going to make her way up to the line next. So it is Miss Cookie coming in through the line. Great ride by her. Behind it is our red beacon. Caroline Mansfield comes through from Gritty, doing an amazing job in and over the line. Thank you very much, Caroline. Thank you very much, not just for being Red Beacon, of course, but for all of the support that Gritty gives to the Donny Chaingang. And don't forget, make sure you support the people who support your sport. You can see them down at the bottom: Halo, OTE, Velaskin, 1080, Velaviewer, the team from the Grand Tour Coffee, and of course the squad at Gritty. Don't forget, of course, we've got Nons Week coming up next week as well. Let's jump across from these riders because we still do have Pip Morn doing a great job. She's on her way in towards the finish. But whilst Pip rolls her way in, let's dive across to our Yellow Beacon, who hopefully has got her breath back. Emma, how are you doing out there?
Good, thank you, Matt. Yeah, it was brilliant fun.
It's a great course. I love that course. I want to race that course. Oh. It's just fantastic. I love the fact that it's just faster and faster and faster on the flat, and it's deceptive, isn't it? Because it clearly took its toll on people.
Oh, it is a brilliant course for a ramp worked out with a go at the end. I mean, each lap you just move quicker and quicker and quicker, and you look up and the group's doing like 43, 44 kph, and then it just motors from there. It was brilliant. There's something for everybody, I thought, which is really good, and some great performances.
And some real grit and determination. We're just seeing Pip Morn, who's been a regular on the Chaingang. Pip, as you can see on the screen, she's already onto this climb. Bearing in mind that she had a dropout for several minutes in the middle of the ride. Pip, I think, has been on the OTE gels. Maybe she's snaffled an entire box or something. She's absolutely flying onto the back of this group and doing an amazing job, chasing down Caroline, who did a great job as a Red Beacon. Attentive, watched the back of the group, pulled people in, gave that extra little bit of draft so people didn't drop off in the first place. Great to see.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. And it's great to see the bus forming at the back, but it took a long time for the Red Beacon to step back from the main group. That was really impressive. And then chatting about snacks as they were about to put the hammer down.
Well, I like that. It's a little bit of sledging from the Red Beacon up to the front. I think this should become a fixture. The chat board is full of talk about food and snacks just when everybody's giving it everything and turning themselves inside out.
I know, it was really good. And thank you to Caroline because she's done an excellent job today. And thank you to all the riders. They really, really made that. That was absolutely brilliant. And I'm really looking forward to our last WOWDCG of this season, which we're heading to France for.
Yeah, definitely. We're heading to France, heading to RGV, one of my favourite routes. It's super quick, super fast, not too big a hill, really good. It's good for chatting, it's good for sitting in the bunch, and once it goes quick, and then that roller coaster canyon finish, really fun.
Yeah, it is. It's a really good route, like you say. Great for keeping the group together and winding up at the start. And then once we go through the bumpy bits on the first lap towards the end, that's where it starts to get interesting. And I should have to give it some serious thought as to where I let it go on the last WOWDCG of the spring season.
Indeed, looking forward to that, and hopefully we'll see plenty of people there. You can just see Pip making her way up towards the line. So we'll let you go, Emma. Thank you very much for leading tonight.
No, absolute pleasure. Brilliant ride. Thank you, everybody.
So great to catch up with Emma at the end of the ride as onto the final turns comes Pip Morn here. Morn riding on the orange kit and not giving up, proper determination there after tech issues. I think halfway round goes over that horrible, she must have taken a really tight line. I saw 21% come up there. Big kick back over the saddle, and Pip Morn going to come in and through underneath the gantry. So Pip in and through and done a great job, set a new personal record as well on the way through, which is what we want to see on the Chaingang. It's all about our riders improving as the rides go on and throughout the season, which is exactly what has happened. So Pip now on her warm down. Remember, we have that at the back of each of the rides. We have another ride this week. We have the Open, the to all riders, Donny Chaingang tomorrow, being led by Jimmy Allen because of the birth of Russ's first child, being born on Monday, which means, oddly enough, Russ's taking a little bit of time off. And Jimmy Allen taking up the reins. The wolf is back. He certainly showed he had claws, letting it go for a proper long one, because in Jimmy's own words, he's known for going longer than Russ. So we will see what happens when the wolf returns tomorrow, or when we are going to be in Paris. Now, we are going to have that as our last Donny Chaingang of this week. Remember, the last WOWDCG is in 2 weeks' time. In between, we've got Nonna's Week, the legendary Sheffield restaurant, taking over the reins with some great giveaways next week on the Donny Chaingang. So make sure you jump in, join the DCG gang, give us some support, and help us keep the show on the road. Don't forget, of course, we have the last WOWDCG, as we said, 2 weeks' time. We run to the end of April on Donny Chaingang. And for the first time in 2 years, we're going to take a break in the summer because there's so many events in there. And we are going to be having a little bit of a gap for 4 months, basically in May, June, July and August. We're then coming back in September to run right the way through the winter once again, full 8 months through the winter. They're already programmed in. We've already got some great routes worked out. We're already working on the winter season, just how far in advance we're working on this. And no doubt some changes down here in the studio as well in the meantime. So a massive thank you to our Yellow Beacon, to Emma. A massive, massive thank you to Caroline. A huge thank you to all of our riders. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the Downhill Cycling YouTube channel. Make sure you give me a follow. It's at Matt Fixer Payne on Zwift, on Strava, on Facebook. You never know, you might get a little heads up on where we're heading on some of our other routes nice and early if you watch those sort of feeds closely. In the meantime, until tomorrow, I think I'm going to go do some recovery OTE after today's mountain bike ride and the broadcast. And don't forget, of course, we're back tomorrow with the next Donny Chaingang live here on the Downhill Cycling YouTube channel.